laws discussing the usage, manufacturing, and possession of the drugs. Now, the law expunges past marijuana possession convictions and reduces the penalty for the drug. The question is, now how do these recent cannabis trends affect the community? Well, here now to give us more information, provide insight on the topic is my attorney, host, and today's verdict, my friend, David Lesch. Good to have you.
Nice to see you, Daren. Daren, last time I was here, I was able to talk to the viewers a little bit of some of the new laws that have come down from the legislature. I didn't really get to talk too much about cannabis in terms of the decriminalization. I want to get into that now.
Right.
At today's verdict, we actually had a whole show on it last night, and we had a few attorneys who were on there. It can get a little complicated, and that's really what I want to talk about today. There really are very few areas of the law presently that are really untouched. You know, maybe drones and airspace, and that's a whole body of law that necessarily is still being worked on. Cannabis is very much untouched, and most people don't really know what the law is and where the law is heading. So let's summarize a little bit of what's been going on here. There was a major push over the last 6 months to make marijuana use legal in New York. Right now, so that push was by those in the legislature, and Governor Cuomo tried to put that in a budget and would make it easier to pass. The legislators didn't want to put it into the budget. Ultimately, it wasn't put in there, and when there was a vote, there wasn't enough votes, so it was not legalized. Instead, it was decriminalized. And when you hear the word decriminalized, you think to yourself, well, then it means it's not a crime, but it is still a crime. So the question is, what does that mean in terms of you're using marijuana throughout New York City, and how does that impact other areas of the law? And that's really what I want to talk about today.
So use can still get you criminal penalties.
Well, yeah, it can still get you criminal penalties. The penalties are much less, and if you have higher levels that you've used in the past, you can have your record expunged so that it won't come up on different credit checks and on different employment applications. But it is still a crime. There are only 11 states that have made it not a crime, and New York is not one of them yet. We don't have the votes at this point. Will we have the votes in 6 months to a year? Maybe, but right now it's still considered to be a crime. Now, medical marijuana is legal. So if you have a prescription in New York, that's fine, and we're one of 33 states that have allowed that. But the question is, if it's still not legal, and even though it's not considered to be a high-level offense, how does it impact you in other ways? Well, I'll give you an example. You go for a job interview, and they do a drug test, and it comes up that you have some marijuana in your system, and you don't have any prescription for medical marijuana. Well, it's still considered to be a crime. Your employer can still not hire you. But what are the responsibilities of the employer in terms of turning you in or letting everybody know? No one's quite sure. The vehicle and traffic law, driving, lists drugs as things that will impact your ability to drive a car. Is it considered to be a drug? Well, right now it is considered to be a drug. If it's made legal in 6 months to a year, is it not considered to be a drug anymore? That affects your ability to drive a car. All still up in the air. This is very interesting, and some of the guests on the show last night were discussing this. You can go into the state Supreme Court with a minimum amount of marijuana in your pocket and just be really given a fine for that, and yet you could walk 3 blocks down into the federal courthouse and you could be arrested. So because that's in federal, it is a crime with higher levels of penalties. So the issues that New Yorkers want to know right now is, well, what happens if I'm walking outside and I'm smoking marijuana as opposed to I'm in my apartment on my couch smoking? Same thing.
Still going to be the same penalty.
Same penalty. So although most police officers really look the other way, and you're really smelling marijuana all throughout New York now, it doesn't mean that it's legal, and you still have to be careful. And it's similar to drinking alcohol outside. You're not allowed to really drink in an open container when you walk around the city. It's supposed to be in some type of bag or something. It's still considered to be a crime to openly drink alcohol outside. I mean, these are all laws that are on the books. How much are they enforced? We're really not sure. So here are the 5 burning questions. I'll get to them really quickly.
Okay.
Where we're going with marijuana and the laws that should be passed within the next 6 months to a year. First of all, will it become legal?
Right.
Actually legal, you can use it whenever you want. remember, these other states that did this, it was based on a public referendum. The public voted it in.
And there are a lot of modifications, too.
Yes, and not the legislature. So the question is, are we going to get there? I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Number two, this is very important. Who's going to get the right to grow it and sell it? Is it going to be similar to the alcohol industry, where you have manufacturing it, wholesale, and retail? Are we going to break it up into 3 different tiers? That might be the better way to do it. Do we want just one billionaire who's going to be selling marijuana in New York and making it, or do we want many, many different millionaires? That's going to come up, and that's going to be discussed. Right. All laws are going to regulate it, and I think one of the most important things are going to be is the legal status of CBD. That's the oils, what
Which
you're
is
eating,
rising now.
Ingestibles, all these things that you're eating. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you at this point, and I know I am speaking quickly because there's so much to cover, is that we don't really know where we're going. But the interesting thing and the fun thing as an attorney is it's an area of law that's going to be developing. And certainly watch last night's show. On Today's Verdict, you can see a lot about what these 3 lawyers had to say in terms of the recent laws.
So we're going to take a look at that. Of course, got to bring you back. There's a whole lot more to unpack. We can't get it all in this segment, but of course, that's why we got you.
Yeah, of course.
All right, David Lesch. Now, listen, if you need answers to difficult legal questions and legal issues, well, David's got you covered. All you got to do is connect with him on Facebook and Twitter at Today's Verdict, and always tune in to Today's Verdict on Tuesdays at 6:30 right here on BronxNet TV, and there you can catch David before you catch yours truly. All right, listen, got to take a quick break. We'll have more Open coming up right after this.